Hello, I'm retired Battalion Chief Larry Cockman from the Greensboro, North Carolina Fire Department History Book Committee. We're here today at the Greensboro Historical Museum. I'm standing in front of the General Green, the first steam pumper, or as they called it back then, a steamer. Today, December 9th, 2019, we are starting a new tradition of recording and preserving the heritage and culture of our retirees. Our retirees have contributed so much to the success of our great fire department. Their stories retire with them and are sometimes gone forever when they pass away. They will share their emergency calls that will always be a part of their memories forever. So sit back and listen as they carry us through their journey in the Greensboro Fire Department.
My name's Shamberg. Age is 80. 33 years Greensboro Fire Department. I drove engine 1 several years, and I drove engine 5, and moved around. Went back went to 12, and then come back to engine 5, and then went back to 12. Well, actually, what I did was I went by a fire station. I was used to work Western Auto loading trucks. And one day I was uptown, I walked by the fire station, and I went in and I saw a guy standing around doing something, and I said, oh, well, how do you get a job here? So he told me to come back and see Chief Boucher, so I went to see him, and at that time, you had to weigh 150 pounds, and you had to be 5'10", or they wouldn't hire you. So later on, come back and they went through and talked to Chief Boucher, and then after that, I got on, and then they went into the date I had to go to training was August 1960, and went straight to the training center. And some of those guys that had been on months, years, and hadn't been in training, and our class was like 25. So, was in, I think it was August to September the 8th, got out of training, and not related to anybody. I didn't know anybody. At that time, they would not hire you if you had a cousin or a brother or whatever on the fire department. They did not hire people that had some kin on the fire department. I went to, like I said, went to downtown and talked to the chief, Boucher, and then they got everything set up for me and said, yeah, I want you to be here on this date and go to the training center and see Chief Powell was a training officer, and we go from there, and then went through the training process. Sometime there were some highs when we had to do the evolution of, which I thought was a little bit, never done it before, jumped out of a second-story window into the big net at that time, and then they carried on ladder trucks. And then, the lows may be that when we was in class and we had a test, it's kind of a little bit bothersome to me. I may not do as well as I wanted to, but, and some highs and lows like that. The reason I remember Fuquay was we got ready to jump into the net, and he jumped in there. He'd always land on his feet. They didn't want you to land on your feet, land on your butt. And he said, Fuquay could never do that. He's like a cat. So I remember that about Fuquay and Ralph Cobes and some of those, Ben Grogan and some of those guys like that. So I think it was second class because, like I said, when I came on, there was right many that had road trucks, and they didn't have a big enough class to go, so until they waited till they got about 20, 25. I did. I just, like I said, when I went by the fire station, I was just looking for a decent job, and I felt like that was a good thing for me to do and get experience, and it was a future for me. That's the main thing about it. So, good future. Well, after I got out of training, they sent me to Central, and I'd ride, they'd say, you got to go to 10 and stay with them a day or two or a week and ride with them. And then I'd go to, actually I had gone to every station before I went to actually assigned. I'd been at 10 and Engine 4, I went to 4 on Ashburn Street. There was a test in itself, which they had a pole, and you know, everybody likes it when you're young fireman, want to slide the pole. So when you go out, get out of training and go up Central, and you're gonna stay up there 2 or 3 days or a month or a week, the first thing you're gonna do is say you need to know how to slide this pole, because when the bell hits, you better be on the truck. So that's what they teach you, how to slide that pole. And just the thing about it is the thrill about it, that when the bell hits and you know you want to get on that pole and slide it and get on the truck, because if they leave you, that's going to be 5 hours the next day. You work 5 hours. In those days, we were 24 on and 24 off. And so if you missed or if you was late, they're going to make you had to work 5 hours. And so getting to the point where my first assignment, they sent me to Engine 7, and my first captain was Captain Coe. And boy, he's like some kind of Marine DI. I'm going to tell you what, he was rude and he was a good captain, but whatever he said, you better go by it. So one day I was coming to work and I was running a little bit late, like about 5 minutes, and I pulled up in my car and got out, and I heard the bell ringing, and I said, "Oh, I made it." And I walked in the door and they said, "You're going to pull 5 hours." And I had to pull out 5 hours the next day on the other shift. So that's the way it was in those days. Well, you just whatever day, you may be mop, you may help clean up, and you know, ride the truck or ride the back or whatever they wanted you to do. So I remember Bob Gullidge and Horace Browning. Horace was a driver at Engine 7, and my thing was when I went over, they sent me over there. I was assigned to Tanker 1. We had Tanker 1, Tanker 2. Tanker 1 was at the 7, and Tanker 2, I think, was at 10. So I was assigned to Tanker 1, but it rarely went anywhere. And then the coach said, you get on the engine if you don't, you know, you're going to ride that engine. So, and I did so. And what we did was we'd go get on the call somewhere, a fire, whatever, and I had, you know, I caught the hydrant. That's what I did. So. Mine was the hamburger, Shamberg, lettuce in the meat, all that. You know, it's Central. I went up there from 1965 to 73, and I enjoyed Central. It was a different place. You had 24 guys. You had Engine 1, Engine 2. You know, truck 1 and truck 2, and then you had the service truck. Actually, before that, when I got out of training, I rode a service truck. That was before they got truck 2. The service truck rode every call. Service truck had fans and ladders. Now it didn't have no aero. Didn't have an aero ladder on it. It's just a service truck. But talking about the funny moments, I'd go upstairs and, you know, your big bedroom, and you're going to, you know, say if you get ready to go to bed or you're going to take your shower, and we'd go in, take a shower, 3 or 4 guys be in there, and somebody would go in there, they had a bell that's in that, you know, to go off so you could catch the truck because you couldn't hear, and somebody go in there and set that bell off, and you hear jumping in your boots and sliding the pole, and the truck ain't going nowhere. That's one time. And then another time, we're standing outside at Central and Boat and Berman and some of the other guys, you know, out there watching the traffic, you know, just talking. And after the dinner meal, and Boat told Berman, he said, "You gonna pull a trick for him and Jerry?" And he said, Berman was standing there, and he just flipped over. He just turned the flip. Right there on the concrete. I don't know how he did it. Berman Roy, he's a real short guy. So he just turned the flip right there. So always something going on, pranks, everything. So, yeah, firehouse living is, you got to learn how to cook. You're going to cook a dinner meal, and you're going to cook an evening meal. And they may say, you're going to cook today. And you got to go to the store, and you got to figure out what you want to have. And sometimes they didn't like it. And yeah, I had to learn how to cook. But And then, you know, firehouse living is different from what you think. You're all in the same bedroom, and, you know, some lay down and maybe want to go to bed, and some of them didn't want to. Some of them want to play around, wrestle, and all that stuff. It just depends on who it was and, you know, what crew you were at. My specialty was beefaroni. As I was saying, back in those days, you know, you got to get used to being around guys in the bedroom and no cubicles and no have your own private room. Only the captains had their own private room, captain and the chief. But I think that was a good thing bringing cubicles back, because when I remember we left 5 on Freeland Avenue and moved to Westover Terrace, the new 5, they have cubicles. I really enjoyed that, because sometimes you need private time for yourself. So no, I don't think so. When you're there 24 hours, you're gonna get to know somebody. Well, White Cross was, I think it was on Sunday afternoon, and the call came in. I was driving engine 1 and said building fire downtown. So we got down there and I hooked everything up, and it was a big fire, and, you know, had everything. People had hose everywhere, and you was trying to remember what you needed to do, what pump pressure and all this other thing. Yeah, just pump a hard line, because and being sure as it is, Chief Powell would come by and he'd say, "What you pumping?" And I'd say, I tried to, you know, 150 or so-and-so. Most of the time, I just, you know, that's what I'd tell him, and sometimes it may not. He used to come around, he did a lot, and he was going to come and ask you. And I think sometimes I'd been better off if he left. No, in those days, they only had Rescue 1 and Rescue 2, and if you rarely went on a call of any kind. You didn't go on any medical calls. The ambulances run out of the funeral homes, and that sounds scary, but it's the only thing I did was they'd say, "You go on a rescue today." I was at Central Rescue 1, and I rode several calls with whoever was driving, and I know it, sometimes, let's see, I was trying to remember another call we went on down Burlington Road, Spain Hour, and 2 guys had run off into a ditch and hit a tree or something, and both of them, I don't think they made it, but it was a little bit, you know, something like that, a little bit bothersome, but kind of felt sorry for it. Well, it's a tragic day in the United States of America, but as the firefighters and the firemen and police and all those, well, firefighters, whether you're in North Carolina, Greensboro, where you at, where you trained to go in, you don't even think about it. It's, you know, just something you're going to learn how to do, and you want to go in. You don't want to stand outside on a hose line. So, you know, go in where you, whether it's a basement or a tall building, you go in and help your brothers out. Well, you get a bond, and you're going to be, like I said, you're together all those days and hours, 24 hours, and I had some good friends in the Weaver brothers, I felt like, and I enjoyed working with them, and I miss them, but you know, when time comes and you retire, then, you know, I don't see them that much anymore. Well, when it come to the firefighters club, and you get to see some of the guys that you worked with years ago, that they may retire before you do, and then you come out here and you're going to see them again, and you know, it's a different atmosphere. I enjoy it, you know. So and it gets probably more than likely. I looked up, and Captain Farmer, A.C. Farmer, was a good man, a good captain, and in fact, I was on his company for a while, Truck 5, and he wanted to get everything thorough, and he wanted to teach you, you needed to learn this and you needed to learn that, and sometimes we'd pick at him, but he could take it. He was a good man. He was a good captain. It was worth it, because, like I said, when I went by, I used to load trucks for Western Auto on East Market Street, and I said, you know, I was weighed only 140 pounds, and I wasn't a strong guy like some of these muscle men, and they could throw boxes around, but I just wanted a job, but it's a good career for me, and I always looking that that's what it was worth it. So, yeah, I remember. In fact, I was on duty. Well, I worked with Jesse Gray. I think I was on one shift, he was on the other, but I remember Engine 2 left, and they had a working fire, but they ended up calling Engine 2 to come in another way. But at that time, we all rode the back, and we didn't think nothing about it. You jump off let's say you run up on a house fire, and it's fully involved, and you're going to not automatically know to catch a hydrant. Well, he jumped off, and they, in the meantime, they called Engine 2 and told him come in another way. Well, he was already off and started dragging the hose, and they backed over him, and that was a bad moment for us. No, I've been on a call where we had I'm glad I didn't have no kids, but guy got burned up in the house, and I can't even think where it was at. And another time out of Central, we had two guys that where they were working them. I don't think they brought them back uptown, so I don't know.
Okay.
I think that it's just making it through, and me driver, well, a good driver is you need to, and back in those days, you better know your territory and all ins and outs, how to pump and what you have on your truck and what tool you got to grab a hold of and those certain things like that. Oh yeah. I work with some guys. They'd ask me some questions about driving, and I try to help them out and fill in some things that they were looking for. So. I would probably do more sitting down and studying fundamentals about pumping and hose lines, and in those days we had the 2.5 and the 3, and when you lay both lines 2.5 and the 3, and you got to figure a 6 and of what the friction loss is, and it can be complicated when you got all that comes into play. Yeah, back talking about pumping changes, when they went to the 4-inch hose line, that was the best thing. I had it right before I retired. 4-inch hose line, you didn't have to use soft suction anymore. You pull it, hook up that hydrant. You didn't have to go back and reverse and all this other stuff. You go back to the hydrant. You just pulled up, and that's a major change. And of course, air packs, the Scots. When I went on, a lot of guys, sometimes I wouldn't even use it because it instantly fog up with you. Now the air packs they have today, you can talk to somebody and you understand what they're saying. They don't fog up on you. So the air packs and stuff like that, very, very good. When I went on, they had 48s, open cab. It didn't have no cover. Engine 1 was open cab. Engine 2 was open, and all those, the 48s, and then the engine 1 was a 55 model, and engine 2 was a 57, and I went to 5 on Mendenhall Street, and it was a 48 at that time, and then we moved from Mendenhall and Tate to Friendly Avenue, 1618 West Friendly, and they got a 65 model, which we were moving up a little. It was open cab, and then later on down the road, they started talking about putting cabs on them. Well, I went from 5 with a no cab when I went, and then they got a cab where it was white, and then they ended up going and painting them yellow, and then they, for a while, and then they come back and painted them red, so, with the cab. So now, you got the modern trucks and cabs and all this sort of thing. So, well, driving you had shift gears and double clutch when I first went on. I'd never drove a truck like that before, and I had to work with it pretty hard. And I got to where I could handle it pretty good. Engine 1 I could handle it good, and then engine 5 I did real well with it. And then, up till that point, till they got all your automatic trucks and everything. Well, faith is, you got to have some faith, because if you don't believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, and it's a good thing, you know, I try to remember that, and then it's just something that you need to believe in. We had a morning service on Sunday. We had, trying to think of the fellow that came that taught us some Sunday school lessons. And actually, when I went on 1960, and I went to 7 in 61, and then I went to got my draft notice in 62 and went in the Army for 2 years, and you know, came back out, and they shipped me to Engine 5 on Mendenhall Street, and of course, you know, and then later I was at Central, and I had to go back to Fort Campbell for 2 weeks, and you know, because they could call you certain length of time, they could call you back in. Right now, I'm looking at it today. This day and time, they treat military veterans better than they ever did, and I honor that. That's an honor. Well, you know, somebody that, like I said, this, you know, going to get in there and they're going to study and they're going to learn all the fundamentals and things like that to be a better firefighter. I wish that, like I said, I had done more research, and instead of sometime we'd play around and joke, and you know, I needed to study more. We had one fella, I can't think of his name. They used to call him the smoke eaters, but like I said, when I went on, we'd rather go in without the air pack on, and you know, you might go into burnt food on the stove, and you know, all that, and you could get used to handling it. So, well, she supported me on my being a firefighter and that particular thing. So. Health is good. I did have a heart attack in 2014, and it was major, and of course I'm doing a lot better now. But you know, it was a major heart attack. It was 100% blockage on the main artery. So, but I was shocked that you know, all of a sudden you'll know, because I was driving. In fact, we had ate dinner at Reedy Fork on 29, and I got in the car. I didn't think nothing about it, wouldn't have no pain. All of a sudden, it started banging, and I was driving, and I said, well, I'm going to go on. I'm not going to pull over and let her get in the drive. So we went on and went to the doc's office right across from the hospital. They shipped me right over there, and that's where it got straightened out. You know, you're always working to improve your activities and strength, and you know, I worked out a lot, and you know.
Become a real handsome man, you know.
I don't know about that. Oh Lord. I would tell them, mention to them that, you know, do all the research you can, whether you got to drive a truck and all the fundamentals about how to pump, and learn all the fundamentals about everything you have to do now. I know it's different from what I went through, but you know, put it all into it you can, all research you can, and you know. Well, I go to church and work at church a lot, and of course I enjoy. I play music with the piano, and I enjoy that part of it, and that's a big part of my life now. I'm working and playing some music, and enjoy that part. Station 4 on Ashburn Street, as I remember, it's a 2-story building, like I said, and you know, you go in and you got only one room for one, like engine 4 at that time, and you had your kitchen off to the side, and you had your upstairs bedroom, and had the pole, and actually the pole in old engine 4 was a little bit higher than the one at Central, so I thought that was unique, and I really enjoyed being there and riding out of the engine 4, because it was just a unique place. The thing about I may have got to mention is that time I was down there, and we had a couple of calls that evening, and the next morning we got up and was sitting in the kitchen drinking coffee like we do and talking. And I asked somebody, I was trying to think who it was. I believe Harry Brown was on that day. The captain was off. Harry Brown, Malin Hancock, I'll never forget that, and Erwin Parrish and myself, and we was riding engine 4, and I said, we're sitting there, and I said, y'all ever have a call this time of morning? And it hadn't even got out of my mouth, and Bill hit, and we took off, and it was somebody pulled a alarm on a box. We answered the call somewhere and it was a false alarm. So, you know, I was just wondering. I said, y'all ever get a call this time? Anyway, but stuff like that. And answering them fire alarm boxes, you know, at Central, I remember that was unique too. They had the tape there. They had the tape right there on the apparatus floor, and you had to go, bell hits, you had to go read the tape. They could do it, the captains could. And we'd say, oh, that's the box, so-and-so, so-and-so, and so. We'd all get on truck and take off and go to that box, and then they had to get off and wind the box, and we'd come back, and you know, they wound it before they left to come back. You had a key and you wound the box, so, because when somebody pulled an alarm and the box is going to run down, so you had to wind it back up. So, the tape machine, and you know. And you had, like I said, you had better get on that truck because the driver really didn't, you know, and someone accused me of trying to leave them. So. But anyway, when I was at Central, I was just a thing about a driver. You know, I looked up to the drivers, and they'd say, you get on this truck and you better ride, you better be there. Anyway, it's sometime on engine 1 we'd have five guys on the truck, on the engine, 4 and 5 man companies. And you know, later on down the road, they dropped it down to 4. And then, you know, I remember a call one time at engine 5, we had the captain was off. It was myself and Debbie Butler and I can't think of the other guy's name. And it was 3 of us and 2 on the ladder company because they had the squad. We had 2 on the ladder company and 2 on the squad, and I thought, really, why don't we need 4 on the ladder company and 2 on the squad? But they trimmed it down, and we had a call on Benjamin Parkway, and about 2 o'clock in the morning, and we were there first. Normally we wouldn't be there first, and so we had to lay a line, and I pulled the engine half off, and it was kind of up a hill far off the road, and I did not realize that when I got to the front door, it was working fine. Well, they had the squad had to take care of the people that came out. 2 of them, they'd come out of there, and they was working on them, and I really was trying to get that engine half up there, and it got right to the door, and it wouldn't go no farther. So what we had to do, and we already called the other company in, and then we had to get a donut roll out and, you know, crimp the hose and go through all that. But it was just one of those things that I really was disheartened about, because when we got back and everything settled down, we heard a little bit of something where some of the guys from another station said, well, we took care of y'all's fire for you, and I thought that was a good thing for them to say. What we're supposed to do as brothers is help each other. So. Donut roll is the 50-foot section that you use in case of that thing right there. If you run it, you know, you can't reach it with the inch and a half, and you can roll where you can just pull a rope and it just come right out, and you got the nozzle on and everything. Just hook it till you extend the hose. Driving open cab truck was a different world. You got the weather, you got the rain, you got ice, and your windshield may be iced up, and you got, I think some of those trucks had windshield wipers on the outside and on the inside. I think so now. That's just some of the things I was trying to remember. But it was a different world, and like I said, you had the open cab, and you had 3 on the back or 2 on the back, and riding the back of the truck was experience, but like I said, it was what it was.
We hope you enjoyed watching these documentaries. It was our goal to share and preserve the memories of our retired Greensboro firefighters. It is our desire that these documentaries will inspire future generations to continue the brotherhood, sisterhood, and camaraderie while always striving for excellence in their careers. While fire apparatus, equipment, and technology have improved, several things will always remain the same. The courage and bravery it takes to mitigate natural and man-made disasters will always be a part of the job. Although our retirees are no longer a physical part of the GFD world, a giant piece of each retiree's memories have been shared with you today. These memories will be in their hearts and minds forever. A special thank you goes out to Captain Harold Haney for his many long hours of recording and editing. Thank you, Harold. A job well done.